Welcome to the Munro Review, where it's all about connecting, sharing, and valuing the arts in the Central San Joaquin Valley. I'm Donald Munro. Today is September 28th, and we're going to be talking about this month's busy art scene. In just a few minutes, you'll get to meet two guests from Fresno City College, Christina McCollum-Martinez and Deborah Irvin. They are part of the creative team for the local premiere of the Green Day musical, American Idiot. But first, let's recap some of what I've been covering on MunroReview.com. I don't often use the words must-see to describe a theater production, but that's what I did in my review of the DROWSY Chaperone. Good Company Players first did this very funny and very sweet musical in 2011, and it's just as good the second time around. The show tells the story of a lonely guy we know only as the Man in Chair. He's played wonderfully by Steve Souza. He tells us the story of a forgotten 1920s Broadway musical named The Drowsy Chaperone. It's a pretty bad show, but the man loves it, and as he tells the story, we get caught up in the magic too. The cast is superb, with terrific vocal and comedic performances that include Emily Pisano as the big Broadway star who's getting married, Nicholas Nunez playing a gangster disguised as a pastry chef, and Jessica Sarkisian as the perpetually tipsy little title character. She's there to make sure the big celebrity wedding goes off without a hitch. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. The laughs just keep coming. The show is filled with insider references to musical theater themes and a nearly non-stop onslaught of puns, sight gags, and silly jokes. The Drowsy Chaperone manages to both poke fun at the genre and also lovingly embrace it. This production gets my highest recommendation. It plays at Roger Rocca's through November 12th. I reviewed another Good Company show to consider, this one playing at the Second Space Theater. The Hound of the Baskervilles is a well-done Sherlock Holmes mystery with GCP veteran actor Gordon Moore playing the famous detective. The acting is good and the mystery is intriguing in this production, but the two real standouts are the sets and costumes. Scenic designer David Pierce's handsome set perfectly captures the feel of a melancholy English manor house. He gives us a jumble of tapestries, stone facings, and wallpaper. And there's a glass-doored exit leading to the mysterious and foggy moor beyond. Ginger K. Lewis Reed's costumes are a period piece delight, from Holmes's trademark cape to the tweedy suits and dresses, all with a musty English air. The Hound of the Baskervilles plays through October 15th at the Second Space Theater. I want to give a quick shout out now to Amelia Ryan, who gave an intense and memorable performance in the Stageworks Fresno production of Mothers and Sons. If you were lucky enough to see this performance, you got to witness a display of human anger at its most perplexing and intense. A couple of other stories to recap. One of the topics I cover on the Munro Review is museum road trips. In September, I featured the CROCKER Art Museum in Sacramento. It's a wonderful place, and with a big expansion a few years ago, you get a fascinating blend of the very old, the CROCKER Mansion that was the original museum, and the very new, a modern building that tripled the size of the museum space. One of the things you can do is track down the paintings given to the museum by George Blair, a famous Fresno art collector. Years ago, he gave to the CROCKER some of the significant works he acquired of what was called the second wave of the Bay Area abstract expressionism movement. And lastly, did you know that the Saroyan Theater has a new security and bag policy? Audiences for the Fresno Philharmonic's first Pops concert of the season had to go through a metal detector. It's a good thing the concert had a John Williams theme. There were plenty of Star Wars characters in costume to entertain people caught up in the long lines. I wrote a piece questioning how much we're willing to give up in the name of increased security. You can't protect against all danger. Are we willing to get frisked at the grocery store, say, or at Art Hop? I don't have any answers, but I do know that I'm going to allow 15 extra minutes now to get into the Saroyan. Now, let's move on to meet our guests. I'm joined today by Christina McCollum-Martinez, the new scenic and lighting designer at Fresno City College, and Deborah Irvin, the longtime costume designer. They're here to talk about a big deal on the Fresno theater scene, American Idiot, which opens Friday, October 6th. Welcome, Christina and Deborah. Thank you for being my very first guests on the Munro Review.
Well, thank you for inviting us.
Yeah,
we're so excited to be here.
Do you like my set? I've got Christmas lights on my desk.
I love it.
It's pretty cool, right?
Garfield, nostalgic.
Exactly. So I know that both of you are hard at work on American Idiot, and I appreciate you coming down here to talk with us. For a lot of people who are only familiar with American Idiot, the album by Green Day, and not the Broadway musical, this is going to be kind of a new experience for them. Christina, can you start off and just tell us a little bit about the show, what people can expect?
Well, with American Idiot, they did not hold back on anything. They definitely throw everything at you from sex, drugs, and rock and roll. We get to relive the 90s and punk rock at its finest. You get to experience the music not just through audio, but you get a lot of visual stimulation as well, which I think is huge. And with Green Day, the music is so passionate. It's just, you dance and you can't help but to sing to every song that's there. So you really, get into it. But then when you're actually watching them do it, you're going to get caught up in it. It's going to take you away, definitely.
So this Broadway musical, Deborah, how did it come about? Somebody just decided we're going to turn this album into a show?
Yes, Michael Mayer did.
Okay,
actually.
Michael Mayer.
Yeah, and I understand that he was driving down the coastline and he put in this album, and then he just thought, I can put this, together. I think I can put this together in a musical. There are 2 added songs that are not in the album that they asked Green Day to, they said, can you come up with something we need to fill it? I actually think they might be for costume changes.
There you go.
We need these 2 extra songs. And one is a love song that he had written for his wife. And there's a wonderful piece that we watched where the Broadway cast sings it for his wife. And it was really tearful and it was really touching.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
so, that one, I think audiences will go, wait, this is not on the album, but I think they'll enjoy the song. It was workshopped at Berkeley Rep, and I saw it at Berkeley Rep. It was incredible. And what I liked about it was that it was multi-generational. There were grandparents there with their kids, there with their grandkids to see the show. And I thought, well, this is kind of interesting to watch a whole family come together and watch Green Day, because the band is from Berkeley. Originally I went to Berkeley High School. But I really like the fact that it was, who goes with their grandparents
right.
to go see a rock musical, to go see a concert? Very
Well,
few
those
people
grandparents, they probably in their day went to those kind of concerts.
Total rockers.
Now, I understand that you brought a video. Can we roll that when we get a chance? I know that you've been working a lot on the sets and the costumes, and I want to talk to each of you about that. Christina, you are a new faculty member at Fresno City College. What did you think when you heard that the first show you're going to do is American Idiot?
Oh, I was super excited. Yeah, I was really excited. I love doing these types of designs, and even the second show, but it's definitely up my alley. I'm really into installation art and that type of design. I love doing the research that goes along with it and just trying to come up with something that I haven't seen done already. And I like to pick a research image that will encompass the whole story of the show. And I landed one that we all agreed was it. It was the image, and it happened to be an old Navy barracks on Treasure Island in San Francisco.
Oh, okay, so you got that
was
local
just
Bay Area
all
connection.
dilapidated and had a lot of graffiti, and it just the character of the building, because it was a curved building, the character of it was enough to just really speak, and I could just see the whole show happening right there. And so with that, it really just sort of took off, and so it made the design even more exciting and more fun. But just the idea of doing American Idiot, I was super excited because I love the music.
Right, right. What were some of the scenic design challenges for you in terms of this production?
There's a few elements that we had in there that we had to problem solve as we went. There's a few little tricks that have to happen. And we discovered easy ways to do it in that it wasn't going to tax our limits, but yet they were going to work in an efficient way.
Well, one
and
of
I
the
don't want to
things is
like
the band is on the set.
Yeah.
They're not just in a pit. They are all over.
Yeah, you were telling me
The
there
set.
actually some of them are 10 feet. 10 feet off the stage.
There's 4 locations on this huge 18-foot structure, and each location has like a cutout, and in that cutout is where the band lives. So we have the drummer up 18 feet. We have the conductor and the keyboardist, plus plays the accordion and a couple other things. He's up above, which he was nervous about. He was worried about his accordion falling off.
I'm sure it's like if you have somebody who's scared of heights, that could be.
I know.
tough.
That was one of my things. I go, I hope the musicians aren't afraid of heights.
So a little bit about the narrative of the show. So you have these 3 friends, Johnny, Willie, and Tunny. Am I saying that correctly?
Johnny, Will, and Tunny.
And then you have this drug dealer named
Saint
Jimmy, and he actually is an alter ego of
Johnny.
So do I have that right?
Yeah.
But basically, it's the story of these 3 friends. And tell me a little bit about the time period, because I know that that's important in terms of the politics and some of those kinds of references.
It's at the time when we have President Bush, we have punk rock going strong, we have some conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan, which take a huge toll, and even Saudi Arabia in early 90s. And then just a lot of things were happening that the government was doing that was causing the specific band members to just really start questioning things, and they were really becoming unsettled by many of the choices that were being made. And so
It's like friends who are, when you grow up in high school and you all make your choices about trying to get out of that little town you grow up in, let's not hang out at the 7-Eleven anymore and try to like bribe people to buy us beer. And so these guys.
And there is a 7-Eleven in the show.
There is a
right?
7-Eleven
Yeah,
in the show, and it's those choices like they want to escape to the big city to make their lives better, and so
and each
who
one of them,
gets they each make different choices.
they each get a roadblock thrown at them in some form or fashion, and they get to that path where you have to make a choice, and it's like, well, some of them it was a random choice. It's like doing something completely extreme for what they would do in nature, characteristically. And some of them, it was like they kind of got dragged down that path. And then others were just stuck and couldn't go down a path. And
I kept thinking, what is the little city for them?
Yeah.
Like, is the little city Berkeley?
I know.
And they're trying to get across the bay to San Francisco, and that's the big town for them. And, that's the place that, lights up for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, but, we thought, well, what could be like Fresno? People want to, leave and find their challenges in Los Angeles, New York,
Definitely.
or San Francisco, because they feel like that's where they're going to be able to make it.
It's definitely relatable to anybody, even in their 30s, but especially so at the college age, because you are traveling different paths and you're not sure where you're going, and you pick a path and you think it's going to be all great, and then boom, wait, how did I get here? And that's what the story is all about. It's about saying, even though you think you're making all the right choices, you never know where you're going to end up. And when you do, what are you going to do? How are you going to adjust and fix it or correct it or keep going, whatever you decide,
Or live with
it.
Right.
Live with what you got.
So, Debbie, when you are designing costumes for a particular time, for an era, and we're talking about the 90s here, is it harder to design costumes for a time that is relatively recent, where actually people have lived through it and remember what people wore in the 90s, as compared to, say,
a period piece,
Victorian
right,
show or so?
which is coming up soon.
Yeah.
So with this show, I think we looked a lot at what punk rockers came from, like, Sid Vicious, as opposed to Sublime, and looking exactly what they would wear, you know, what Hot Topic versus some grunge look, and kind of saying, what would this group of friends wear as opposed to this other group of friends? So there's some really heavy, you know, studs, piercing kind of looks, and lots of chopped hair and gel. And then there's other things that are more like baggy jeans, and maybe they haven't washed them ever, you know, and maybe their hair has a lot of, you know, 3-day or 4-day old sweat in it. So, you know, we're just trying to make communities of different people that would live in this kind of space.
So is there a 90s fashion trend that you are glad that we're totally past, that you had to bring to life in this?
I like laundering a lot. So I'm kind of past that now too. So we're like, you know what? You might look a little stinky, but we're going to clean you up.
Okay, okay.
But there was also a lot of, it was very funny going out shopping, because I'm not really a shopper. I'm more of a builder. So finding a lot of cut-up jeans that we like wore for, you know, that I wore a long time ago. And I went, these are back again. Oh my God.
Right, right.
And these now cost $200.
That's the thing. It's like,
yeah.
it can
So that was really interesting.
See, that's how you make money for your next production.
Yeah,
that's right.
Sell the costumes from this.
Don't say that.
So do you think, in terms of doing a rock opera, which is not a traditional Broadway musical, do you think you're going to be able to reach like a different demographic, particularly at the college? Are you marketing to them, or are you trying to get that younger generation in?
You know, we always try to call, you know, probably do productions that will relate to our students in some way. I have a lot of people who I never would have thought enjoy Green Day, or they're just like, we gotta go, you know, it's gonna be great. I'm bringing my friends, and I love their music. I listen to their album, or I went to see them in Oakland, you know, last month.
So a lot of personal connection.
Right. That I didn't even think, oh, really? You listen to this? And they, you know, I've always had the albums, and I'm sure people are looking at me going, you're a Green Day fan? Yeah, absolutely. It's so fun. And it's, you know, it's fun just to get up and get into that energy every once in a while and just dance.
Yeah. No, I mean, the music is really...
It's got a passion in it. It's energy in it.
I will listen to it when I'm on deadline and really need to, you know, crank something out. So
yeah. We've been listening to it a lot lately.
I'm sure you have.
A lot lately.
So Christina, this is your first year at City College, and City College is well known for its theater program. It's got a great theater program. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you come from, and what are some of the shows you've worked on in the past that you really liked?
I came from really far away, Stockton.
Okay, okay.
But I've actually worked at several colleges, Bay Area and Central Valley, part-time. And I've done a lot of scenic design locally, but I've also done some assistant scenic design work for shows in New York. Okay. For a friend of mine, he does a lot of scenic design for Felicia Rashad in her shows that she does for a lot of August Wilson is what she works with. Okay. And so a lot of times I'll go and he'll say, hey, I have time to build a model, and I'll just, because I'm pretty quick at that, I crank out models for him, and I'll get to do a little bit of different work besides just designing myself, which I love all aspects of it. But and then also gives me an opportunity to work in other areas like New York and Colorado and Washington. So I get to see a little bit more that way. But design-wise, I've done some designs with West Valley College in Saratoga, San Jose. I've also done some design work when it was there, San Jose Rep Theater. Right? And I worked with Stockton Civic on some lighting designs rather than set designs. I started actually crossing over to lighting design about 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Scenic design was my specialty, but I did study lighting design as well.
Now, I know that some colleges and universities divide it up. They have a separate lighting designer and a separate scenic designer. But do you like this setup? Do you like being able to do both?
Yeah, I did. I worked part-time as a technical director, or the scenic and lighting designer, basically, for San Joaquin Delta College. And I actually loved being able to light my own sets. It was kind of nice because, yeah, I could light it how I wanted to. But then at West Valley College, I would either do the lighting or I would design the set, but I didn't do both. So you get a different aspect of working and collaborating with another person, which I also like doing. So I don't really pick and choose. I don't like one more than the other, but I do love the idea of it all. And I love the collaboration, because I think the collaboration is really where it's at.
Yeah.
Because you get more ideas and just bouncing them off of each other than you do on anything. And then Fresno, I didn't really know that much about Fresno City College until I had seen that the job position was, and I started researching it, and I was so amazed, because I am such I love history. And when I realized that Fresno City College was like the first community college in California and almost first one, in the nation, I was like, wow, okay, what have I been missing? And then I had a friend who is a dean at West Valley College, and he's the one that said, you need to go over there. That is a great college. And so I just kind of kept that in the back burner. And when the position came up, and I got really excited, went for it. And I'm really glad they sold it to me.
And we're glad she's here.
Yeah, you're glad.
Yes,
Well, I'm so glad that you're able to join us. This is kind of like your welcome and introduction to Fresno.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And thank you for being here. Now we're going to wrap up the show with me talking about some of the things that are going to be coming up in October. And I thought I would just kind of talk to you guys about that, because I'm sure
and we're super excited.
You're excited about that.
Yes.
One of the things that I'm excited about is Stageworks Fresno is going to open Little Shop of Horrors. That is on October 22nd. Or no, that opens October 6th and it runs through October 22nd. That's a great show.
And they have a great cast.
They do. They have
so I'm like really excited
amazing
about that.
cast.
It's so fun. The music is so much fun. It's so captivating.
It really is. They did a preview at their cabaret a couple weeks ago, and some good stellar voices. Here's a reminder: Fresno State's going to be finishing up its first show of the season, which is Particles of Dread. That's the Sam Shepard Oedipus Variations. So that's going for one more weekend. That closes Saturday, October 7th. Here's an interesting little Broadway musical to highlight: Evil Dead the Musical.
I've heard of that one.
That is going to open Friday, October 13th, which is a great opening date at Playhouse Merced. Now, this is one I'm going to go to Merced to see it. I have listened to the music. It's hilarious.
It really is.
It's really funny. And so I will go out of my way to see that.
And you have to wear black or something.
Yeah, I have to dress up for it. The big concert that people are kind of waiting for is the Fresno Philharmonic is going to be debuting its new musical director, Ray Hotada, and she was selected after a grueling year-long search process. So all last year, Christina, we welcomed guest conductors and basically auditioned them.
Wow.
It's like the world's longest job interview when you think about it. And so Ray was chosen. She's fantastic, and I think people are really excited.
Excellent.
Excited
Sounds
about
exciting.
that.
Sounds really exciting.
And so that's on Sunday, October 15th at the Saroyan. Also at the Saroyan is going to be the first of our Broadway in Fresno season, which is Beautiful, the Carole King musical. Yeah. That opens on October 24th. I actually had the chance today to interview the woman who plays Carole King on the national tour, and she really loves this show. And she's actually been in it like 3 years, but this is the first time she gets to play Carole King. She's kind of worked her way up the ladder, and so she's just fresh. And she just took over like
super exciting.
She actually understudied, so she's actually played Carole. She said she's gone on like 50 times, but this is the first time that she gets the top billing.
That's excellent.
Yeah, she understudied on Broadway, and they do move around.
Her parents must be really happy.
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, she's the star. But it is a really fun show. It's a jukebox musical, but it's a really good jukebox musical, if that makes any sense. Yeah. You know, that's fun. On October 27th, Fresno State is going to open the show Native Son, and that's based on the Richard Wright novel. Thomas Wood Ellis is going to direct that. Have you either of you ever seen a stage version of Native Son?
No,
No.
no.
I haven't either. So I think that
That
will
should
be
be
a,
Is it a
Be
Fresno
interesting.
premiere?
I think it might
Might
be.
be.
I mean, I'm thinking back, maybe it was done here a long time ago, but I'm thinking it's probably a premiere. So
Is that it? What theater is that in?
that'll be in, I think their larger theater, in the John Wright
Right.
Theater, because the Oedipus show is in their
The
smaller
smaller
one.
space? Okay.
And I know that your department, your college has an event coming up. Tell us about that. That's on October
20th.
20th. Oh, it's our Friends of the Arts dinner,
Okay.
and we're really excited about it. It's in the courtyard at the old administration building. It's absolutely beautiful evening. There's wine, there's a silent auction, there's dinner, and there's great entertainment by entire departments of fine and performing arts. So the art department will have some exhibits, and they have like hands-on that, things that they'll be doing. So you can just kind of walk around, and the evening is always like absolutely gorgeous.
And they have a
So-
great auction. They have a silent auction and then a regular auction. Some great entertainment. I went last year and it was.
Yeah, there's a
was
lot
really-
of fun.
it was
Yeah, I'm
really
actually
fun.
really excited to go this year.
So that's
Yeah, it's a very
October
nice
20th,
evening.
and people can find out about that
By calling our box office.
by calling the box
and
office.
they do have it on the website correctly at the college under their calendar of events.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you can look it up that way.
And then remind us again, American Idiot opens
October 6th.
October 6th, and that runs actually just for 2 weekends,
yes,
right?
Right.
correct.
So this is one of those shows that you have to make an effort to go out and see. So many times people will say,
Oh, yeah.
I don't have time. You have to
Yeah.
plan it out.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
well, that wraps it up for this month's episode of the Munro Review. Thank you so much to our volunteer crew. And thanks again to our guests, Christina and Deborah. And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.